right, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Sue Juder, and I'm the marketing specialist here at Business Machine Technologies. I wanted to welcome all of you to the final session of our Remote Works webinar series. Today, we are going to be discussing the downsizing of office space and moving servers to the cloud. So before we begin, just quickly, some brief info on our Remote Works webinar series. Every Tuesday at 12:30, we hosted a short webinar on a different topic. Highlight capabilities within that topic that assist with your work from home efforts. The different sessions tied to a different series or theme. The first three revolved around communications, collaboration. The second three were tied to security. And finally, we closed today with our strategy sessions. And again, I wanted to thank all of you who joined us in our previous sessions and today's session. We enjoyed having you. With that, I am going to turn the deck over to my colleague Sue as we start today's presentation.
Yep, thank you, Sue. Last week we reviewed the benefits of server-based computing. For many organizations, this is the first step required to move their locally hosted applications to the cloud. This week we're going to look at moving servers to the cloud and the benefits of doing so, one of which is downsizing office space. Work from home trends have ebbed and flowed over past years, while overall marching towards a more mainstream embrace. But with people under lockdown around the world, the number of workers having to telecommute suddenly skyrocketed. In helping our clients, we saw many go from a 20% remote workforce to over 80% almost overnight. That shift shows no signs of reversing in the long term. In fact, a new Gartner survey found that 74% of CFOs have already reported they intend to make the shift to remote work for some employees a permanent one. That's because from increased productivity and higher employee retention to reducing environmental impact, the benefits of this way are working clear. And now this crash course on remote working has helped companies deploy technologies, develop policies, learn best practices, and break down taboos to lay the foundation for long-term change. We've heard from several clients that are looking to downsize or even vacate their office space. This is a great opportunity to take the money saved on office space and leverage the power of the cloud. There are many benefits to leveraging the cloud for computing workloads. The first and probably most important is resiliency. True cloud services have resiliency built in, from internet connections to power, to redundant server hardware. You are guaranteed maximum uptime. Flexible capacity. Since there are vast amounts of resources waiting in the cloud, it's easy to choose only the amount you need to start. Since you're essentially renting, it is easy to scale up or down as needed. Along with the flexible capacity, you have flexible payments. You only pay for the services you need. No investing in hardware today that you might need at some point down the road. Quick to deploy. The computing resources or services are pre-configured, making them quick to deploy. And finally, a key consideration in downsizing office space, mobility. Since cloud services live on the internet, wherever you can get a connection, you can use the service. These are all great benefits, but you'll notice I didn't mention reduced costs. That's because companies looking to leverage the benefits of cloud pay a premium for those benefits. Why is that? Well, you're essentially doubling your costs. While you move the cost of an on-premise server to a monthly hosting fee, you are paying for more redundancy at the data center, in addition to the infrastructure to house those servers. Without downsizing your office space, you are paying for space, internet connections, and internet failover in both places. By reducing your on-premise costs, you can apply that money to a cloud solution and in many cases completely offset the cost. So what are the first steps when considering a move to the cloud? First, we need to inventory the applications in use and determine the best options for them. The first option is to retire them. Of course, if an application is providing little value compared to its costs, you should consider it a candidate for retirement. Additionally, functionality provided by on-premise systems can be rolled into a consolidated modern application running in the cloud, allowing some applications to be retired while others are replaced and modernized. Which leads us to replace. Often an application is providing some value, but an off-the-shelf replacement with a lower total cost of ownership is available. Many applications were originally built because there was no alternative at the time. A modern, readily available application might now exist that you can use to replace the older one. Also, there might be a chance to consolidate functionality from several older applications, thereby replacing multiple applications with a single system. And finally, rehost. When an existing application is providing good value, moving to the cloud will involve rehosting. Rehosting involves keeping the application and the servers it runs on, but moving those servers to the cloud where it is easier to manage and run. This is also called lift and shift. So the first thing to do is look for easy wins. Workloads we can move to software as a service. This will reduce the amount of servers we have to lift and shift to rehost. The first easy win is email. And while most everyone has already moved their email to the cloud, we mention it here to illustrate the concept and also reiterate if you haven't moved it to the cloud yet, you should. This cloud service replaces our on-site email server. Moving email to the cloud typically costs about $4 per user per month. Once you have over 50 email boxes, there can be an ROI on hosting your own, but the benefits to moving this critical communication tool far outweigh the additional cost. This will be one less server that we need to host ourselves in the cloud by leveraging a software as a service solution. Up next is document storage, another software as a service solution. Just like email, there are cloud services that can replace your file server. As we reviewed previously in our Remote Works Office 365 webinar, documents can be moved to Microsoft's OneDrive for personal documents and SharePoint and Teams sites for shared documents. Doing so, there are many benefits such as increased accessibility, security, and improvements in collaboration. That's another server we don't have to worry about rehosting. However, we still need to be careful. If your practice document management system expects these files to be on a local server, we can't move all of them. So there's a good chance that there is a cloud version of your main application, whether that is your practice management software, case management software, or customer relationship management software. But time and time again, when helping our clients evaluate their cloud options, we find in many cases the cloud version is not as feature-rich as the native version. This is because they need to be recoded to work in a browser. This can be a vast undertaking, as the code essentially needs to be written from scratch. So they start with the features 80% of people use. This helps them build revenue in their cloud model and fund further development. But when 20% of features are missing, some key components of your workflow can be missing. Features that have given your staff efficiencies. You can't tell staff that are taking one step to perform a process that it now takes 5 steps because we're using the new cool cloud version. So this can be an opportunity to evaluate competing products, especially newly built cloud native apps. And I encourage you to do that. However, even with competing cloud versions available, your business workflow is married to the current applications it uses. As we all know, change can be difficult in any organization, and without buy-in from key stakeholders, many new application initiatives fail. So sticking with your current application and rehosting it is many times the best path forward. To determine what resources we need in the cloud to rehost our application, it comes down to how much bandwidth they require. If the processing happens on the server side and only results are pushed out to the client, our bandwidth needs are low. The server pushes data to the client for the client to process and then save back to the server, while our bandwidth needs are high. Most on-premise applications employ this client-side processing to leverage the power of your PCs. This isn't a problem at the office. In a typical office environment, clients are connecting to the server using gigabit Ethernet. This makes moving information back and forth to the client and the server really fast. When we move our application to the cloud, it isn't going to have the benefit of that high-speed connection anymore. It is now subject to the various connections we have to the internet. So even if we have 500 megabits at the office, this client is at best going to be 3 times slower than when at the office when downloading information. And this user is going to have a really bad time saving data back to the server. That speed is now limited to about 20 times slower than what they would see if they were at the office. But there is a fix for this, and that we went over last week. As we discussed, adding a remote desktop server alongside our application and database servers, our clients can connect from anywhere on any device without worrying about their connection speeds. So now we can lift and shift our hosted servers to the cloud using a platform as a service provider, such as Microsoft Azure. We work with clients that are looking to lift and shift their applications to the cloud. We run an analysis to determine the actual processor, memory, and data used in your environment over a typical week. This allows us to properly size your cloud servers so you'll only pay for what you need. Using the results, we can quote you on moving this workload to Microsoft Azure or our subsidiary, Sapphire Private Cloud. If you have staff outside of the tri-state, we recommend Microsoft Azure, as it is geographically redundant. You'll pay more for this, but if the entire state of New Jersey is without internet, your staff in remote states will still be able to access your systems. If your business is confined to the state, Sapphire Private Cloud is a great choice because you get all the redundancy of multiple servers, firewalls, connections to the internet, no single point of failure, in a privately hosted regional data center. And the last thing to consider is your communications. Another easy win is replacing your antiquated phone system with a cloud-based solution. A modern cloud-first solution is going to have apps you can install on your PC for use with a headset, and an app you can install on your smartphone. This will allow you to take and make business calls on any device, appearing as if you were in the office. With COVID-19 stay-at-home orders, our clients with an old digital-only PBX had to forward all incoming calls to a cell phone. Even if you have an on-premise VoIP system, moving your phones to a cloud-hosted solution will allow you to save on communication costs at the office. Several years ago, we replaced our on-premise VoIP system with a RingCentral cloud-hosted service. We evaluated a number of providers at the time, and we found RingCentral to be the most feature-rich and cost-effective. And it's clear to see that they are now the leader in this space. We initially went pure cloud to ensure our staff could work remotely during severe weather events. As an IT support provider, we also need to ensure that our clients can always reach us for assistance. Downtime is not an option. The COVID-19 work from home orders came, our staff seamlessly transitioned to working remotely using the apps on their smartphone or a USB headset and an app on the computer. So here we are at the finish line. Most companies end up with hybrid cloud solutions. We have a mix of software as a service, such as Microsoft 365 and RingCentral, and our platform as a service, hosted line of business applications, with our clients able to access them on any device and over any connection. With these solutions in place, you can confidently downsize or even eliminate your office space. So let's wrap up with some 3 use cases. We have a construction company client that builds large warehouse and distribution centers. They work with the largest online retailer on the planet. They work on projects across the country and cannot afford to have downtime. When their in-house servers reached end of life 2 years ago, we lifted and shifted their client server environment to Microsoft Azure. They had just moved into office space when COVID-19 hit. but it was an easy transition for their office staff to work from home through the use of cloud-hosted server-based computing. We have an accounting client that went the route of server-based computing 2 years ago. 1 year ago, with their local hardware needed to be replaced, they took the leap and lifted and shifted their computing environment to the cloud. During tax season, they cannot afford to have any downtime, and their building was prone to power outages. We moved them to our subsidiary company, Sapphire Cloud Solutions. Their server now runs on completely redundant hardware with redundant power and internet connections at a cost savings compared to Microsoft's Azure. With COVID-19, their infrastructure was already in the cloud. The office could be dark for that matter. Everyone set up to work from home without missing a beat. And finally, we have a specialty insurance company whose owner was looking to start winding things down in his retirement. This example shows that the solution can work even for smaller companies too. He closed his offices in New Jersey and moved to Las Vegas. We lifted and shifted his document management system to Sapphire Private Cloud. We did a proof of concept for him first to ensure that the document management system would work without server-based computing. He and his staff were satisfied with the results and are enjoying accessing the system from anywhere. So in summary, I've listed the key considerations we've reviewed today on this slide so that you have them in one place. I want to thank everyone again for joining us today and for all the webinars we've put on in our three-part series. It's been a very rewarding and filling process helping our clients work through this effort. So thank you.
All right, with that, we'll open up our Q&A session. Please feel free to use the chat feature at the bottom of your window and ask any question. We do have one question in the queue, Stu. Someone has asked, right now my staff remotes into their PCs at work with no issue. Why should we move to the cloud?
Okay, yeah, I mean, that is a great short-term solution, one we've helped many clients with. But consider right now your remote staff are counting on the internet connection back to your office to get their work done. If there's an internet or power outage at the office, everyone's going to be offline. Worst case, a truck hits a pole outside the office and you're down for a couple of days. But your firewall may have issues that prevent people from connecting, or maybe it's the internet router. So your staff are also counting on their PC to be on and working. The PCs are probably not protected with a UPS. And if someone accidentally turns off the remote PC instead of their local PC, well, now someone has to turn on their office PC before they can get back into work. And if you look at this long term, you're paying for office space that you don't really need. And there are better ways to invest that money. So cloud solutions that used to be expensive to run can now really be offset by that cost.
All right, thank you, Stu. Any other questions? Do we have any other questions that you see?
No, I don't see any other questions. Nope.
All right, if no more questions, I guess we will close today's presentation. You will be receiving a copy of the recorded deck tomorrow. Thank you again for joining us, and feel free to reach out for us with any questions. And we look forward to seeing you at our next event.
Yep. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.